Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things. I am coming back to my coloring project. I appreciate you guys letting me do a late night coloring session to de-stress after my crazy campground incident. So now I have colored a couple of these, and I even colored one of the little guys. I have a design in mind, and I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques for colored pencils. One is a technique that I've used extensively with the alcohol markers, but I've never done with colored pencils, so we will get to explore that together. So I have my craft glasses on. I have now colored two of these pieces, and I'm going to come in with this pencil. This is the purple, and I'm going to clean up some of my coloring around the edges. First, I'm going to be adding more. I can see some places where I missed, and this is being ultra picky. I probably don't need to be this picky, but I just want to show you how these actually can look if you just put the same amount of care into making them as you would if it was a project that was just a colored piece, not an element on a card. So first I'm adding, I do apologize also for the noise. Hub is working on a new desk for me. I am moving my spot from 2 years ago now. I moved into the slide, and I'm sitting at what was the dining room table. And I have a shelf behind me, and I've done videos. You can go back and see them. And we took the couch out of the very back of the rig, and it has been out for almost a year now. We took it out right before we left to head down here to Florida. It is hanging out at my mom's house. And so we now are going to move me back there. I've ordered some furnishings for storage of my supplies. And so I am very excited to get that going, and I finally settled on what I wanted to buy because there's very limited space. So I had to take measurements and remeasure and really make sure that I wasn't getting too much stuff in that particular space in the back. So I will be able to share that with you. The furniture, it's one furniture element that actually folds out to a workstation to work alongside my old white desk that I will still use, so that'll give me an L-shaped space to work on, which will let me have, I have a commercial cutter. I call him Carl because he's a Carl cutter. Many of you probably already know what it is and have one. So the Carl will be able to fit there right now. Carl sits on our printer that sits on what would be like the coffee station when you first come in. It's a really nice counter space, and I don't mind it, but it would be nice to have a place that Carl could sit right next to me. So I've added more. I am trying to even these two up to just make them look more alike. The next difference I see between the two is that I left more white. Remember when I was coloring, I used this white as my burnisher, and when I burnished this one, I can see that I took the color all the way up to the purple, but on this one I left a little more white, and I kind of, between the two of them, I like the one with a little bit more white. So unlike alcohol markers or dye markers, you can erase this pencil, which is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. This particular tool is called a Mono Zero eraser. It is not a Stampin' Up product. They don't focus on the colored pencil side of things. So I'll have a link to my affiliate store on Amazon, where I have built up a bunch of art supplies. Eventually it will also have our RV supplies. We do most of our shopping on Amazon. We can either pick up the Amazon supplies at a locker. Thousand Trails does not typically allow you to send packages unless it's repair parts for an RV or medicine, and so sometimes it is an RV part, and we can have Amazon ship there, and they will allow the packages to be accepted. But I like that we can have the locker. So the Amazon shopping model works really well for somebody like us that are full-time travelers. So what I'm doing is erasing with this little round eraser. It's very small. It does get a little gooey, so you'll see me actually removing the material that gathers on it. I see where I over drew the purple line, so I'm just cleaning this up. You can see already where I'm getting more white on this one to match the other one. And again, I'm cleaning up a little bit of the purple where I went out over the lines. This is, again, a little more persnickety than I think the average card crafter is going to be, but I want to give you your options when it comes to colored pencils with all of the neat little tools that you can use. The other very nice eraser you can use is a kneaded eraser, and that eraser you can shape to a little point. You know, because it's a kneaded, you can move it to make it any shape you want. So that will also be on my affiliate shopping site that is now up and running on Amazon. And yes, I do get a little small commission for any sales that are made from that store, which is of course why I created it. You have to qualify first before you can create one, so I met the criteria finally, which is exciting. I figure the more income I get, the more fun supplies I can get, and the more videos I can make. Okay, so I've done some cleanup on this one. It looks pretty good. I now have, I feel between the two, I feel I have about the equal amount of white showing. So that is awesome, and I don't see too many issues with the purple. If I wanted to get really picky, like right in this corner, because this pencil is so sharp, it's really easy to fix very tiny extra white. If you don't want any extra little white bits, you can just go back over and clean it up. So I like those. I think those are looking good. And then my little one that I created, because what I'm going to do is make a collage of these with some dimensionals. This one I colored pretty quickly. I did do some burnishing. And let's take this purple. I see some little lines of white that I'd like to get rid of. It looks so different when I put my craft glasses on. So this is a good step. And I've actually got my camera quite close, and I am looking through, and it's a little bit of an angle. Oops. Hey, now this is right here. This is definitely, because these pencils are a watercolor medium, they're a little bit chalky and dry. So without that extra oil, they do tend to break, so I am going to sharpen it. And my new electric sharpener that I got, because my hands are so bad, it works really well. So I just put it in there. That is also on my shop. So both the eraser, I have a crank eraser, and then listen to me. I have the two erasers I talked about, and then I have the crank sharpener, and then this new electric sharpener that came highly recommended. Which requires me to not hold it with my other hand and not hand crank, and it's wonderful. It is a not a Super C, the old USB charger style for charging, which is great. And I think I am pretty happy with this little guy. Again, I'm being overly picky because I want you to see the delicate work that these pencils can do, which is very different than alcohol markers. In fact, the alcohol markers, I think at this point, with me getting back into colored pencils, they will make a great base layer, and then I can go in with and do any of these really dainty touch-ups. And that is the nice thing about the Stampin' Up! Color ranges, all coordinating between their various products. All right, so I have my 3 pieces. I'm happy with the purples now. I like how they are very vibrant. And then the next element that I want to demonstrate, and again, this is my very first time. So here is the pot that comes with this stamp set. To me, this pot looks like it is some sort of an aluminum, maybe a galvanized metal. Hey, I decided to go grab a reference drawing that I created a long time ago that I still use to this day. I have created it with blends, and I'm going to do the same technique with the colored pencils today. So here is an uncolored version that shows the lines and the different color tones. I will include this at the end, and then here is what it looks like using the blends, going from gray granite to smoky slate to basic black, and then also using the color lifter to lift up any color if I got an area of it too dark. And I am going to replicate this same technique with these 3 colored pencils, the dark basic black, basic gray, and the Whisper White, using the number of layers and the level of pressure to achieve the light, middle, and dark tones. All right, so let's go back to our pencil drawing. And how you do, this is actually the back. I'm going to create a background. This is the actual background, but I am going to experiment on the back here first. Because we're doing this dry, we don't have to worry about any of the color bleeding to the other side. So I can just choose where my first line is going to be. I am following the shape of the pot, and you make a series of lines in a variety of thicknesses. I'm just going to do one very light, fairly thick line. And this is the start of my metallic look. Now right next to it, I might do a white, still doing very light pressure. And maybe there's a white strip next to it. We have a light source, and it is shining right there. So I'm going to now do another gray line. I want to vary the lights and darks of these lines that I am creating. I'm going to go ahead and do a darker line here. And that is just the basis for our, I'm kind of zigzagging. I imagine you can see that this is 2 different beads of shape in the metal. At some point, we're going to be going the other direction, so I'm going to just create the beginning of my line going the other side, so I get the basic of the shape. I'm gonna have my shadow be on this other side, so I'm using extremely light pressure to just flesh it out and designate that this side is on the darker side. I am not going in small circles like I did on the flowers. I'm actually following the direction that I want my metallic look to be. Toward the center here, it is going to be a straight line when you're looking straight on. Okay. So I've got it like sketched in, I guess is the best way to say it. And now we're going to start adding some depth to the color. And then we will decide at what point we want to put in a little bit of the black over the gray. So depending on how I want this to be, I could keep it as is or go with a smoother look. I've got the white that I can use and will use to burnish a little bit later. Okay, now I'm actually doing this, the dark side of this pot with more pressure. More pressure. Okay, I'm going to switch to the black. I want to really darken up this far corner. As I said, it is the shadowed side in my mind. Oh, there we go. So, gotta be careful with that tip. This one, I don't need to have the pencil have a really sharp tip. And again, I was adding more pressure, but that tip breakage tells me I should have kept my pressure very light. So sometimes you can blame it on the pencil, and other times you just have to blame yourself. So, are you seeing the metallic come into play at this point? Let me know what you think. All right, now let's say I've got my eraser. I'm going to clean off the little residue, and I want to brighten up a couple of these lines on the light source side. See how that's just making a nice light, lightening up that side? The idea is to make these lines regularly irregular to make them look as natural as possible. Okay, next, the last little bit. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just showing a little bit of some sort of reflection happening over here. There's our pot. And then the last little bit, there's the jelly roll. I have not added them yet to my store, but I will get those loaded up. These are awesome. And I'm just going to make sure that the light side has some very light lights. And I might even see if I can add a little bit of a reflection in the middle of the dark. I don't know, I can see these, and I don't know how well they show for you. I think I'm ready. I am happy with my pot. So that was using the basic gray pencil, the basic black pencil, starting with a base of the basic gray, then going over with some basic black in vertical lines, following the edge of the pail where it comes out on each side, and then in the very middle I went straight. And then I burnished with white. I then went in with the mono eraser and erased some areas to get it the brightest brights, and then went in with my jelly roll white to further enhance the whites. So now this is what the pot will look like when I add my cluster of flowers. Voila. So I am going to now go away. I'm going to flip to the other side, and I will color this up, and then here's what it's going to look like, and I will do some photography at the end so you can see what it looks like. This thanks will be popped up, and 2 of these layers will be popped up. I will color the sides greenery to match the middle greenery. Sorry, I had to stop there. Hub had to come in for something. He's working on a project. So these die cuts come with the succulent set, and I went ahead and I used white and pencil on this soft seafoam. I colored the stem with the old olive. This is a Pear Pizzazz stem, and then I used white as well. I will trim this off and then put those as a layer behind. Something like that. I have not decided exactly where they will go. And the last bit, I've got garden green here. Remember, the 3 colors of the pencils that I used were garden green, old olive, and granny apple green. So this will get all colored in, and I may change the color of the trim, the matte layer, depending on the color tones, and I am considering adding a shadow behind thanks in a color matching the matte. And again, I will have photography. I now have a store, an affiliate store up on Amazon that will be linked in the video so that you can see these non-Stampin' Up! Products. And yes, I do get a small commission for you buying them through my store. Let me know what you think of these techniques I've shown today and this coloring, and if you think that I have done enough pencil coloring to convince you guys to take these pencils that you probably bought when they first came out and you've hardly ever used them. What do you think? Be sure to add your comments here on the video or over on my blog. Like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.